Chasing virality has now become the new rat race. It's become the new 9 to 5. It's become the one thing that people are focusing on when it comes to growing a business, when it comes to getting clients. And it's the one thing that's keeping most coaches, most online business owners stuck and broke. And from speaking to hundreds of coaches over the last few years inside of my business, I've come up with 4 things that you need to speak about on your social media, 4 styles of content that you need to be doing every single day, every single week, in order for you to stop chasing virality and start chasing connection and relatability and relationships. Because right now, what you see on the internet, on social media, and you may be one of these people right now doing it, is that everyone is becoming a clone of each other. Everyone is sharing the same content. Everyone is posting 5 things to do and 3 things to avoid. Everyone is copying trending audio, copying trending videos. And don't get me wrong, you can go viral. Don't get me wrong, you can get tons of views. Don't get me wrong, you can also get tons of followers from it. But having tons of views, having tons of followers, doesn't exactly mean and doesn't translate into tons of money. And it's keeping most coaches stuck. So if you're one of those coaches right now that's either chasing virality or you go viral often, but yet you're still not making consistent growth with your income, with your online business, then I'm going to share with you the 4 styles of content that you want to be sharing and creating every single week on your TikTok, on your Instagram, on your YouTube Shorts, so that you can start creating relatable content and content that actually converts. Because most people now are just chasing that viral content. But before I do that, I just want to explain to you the 3 stages of content. It's like a funnel, okay? So we have top of funnel content, we have middle of funnel content, and we have bottom of funnel content. The video that I'm doing right now is middle of funnel content, by the way. And this is for long form, but I'm talking about in particular short form content. So top of funnel content is the viral stuff. This is what gets loads of views, gets you potentially loads of followers. But if you're doing it every time, you're trying to hit a home run with every post, it could be potentially harming your brand, harming your business, and could be harming your existing followers. Let's just say, for example, I decide to copy a trending video right now on TikTok or Instagram. And it's funny, it's out there, it's a little bit different, it gets attention, and I get 100,000 views, for example, and I gain 3,000 new followers. But if out of those 3,000 followers, 90% of those people aren't my ideal customer, aren't my avatar, aren't really the people I help, then what that's going to do is it's just going to add shit to my social media. It's going to add shit to my followers. And the reason for that is because when I start creating content like this, which is to educate, which is to inspire, which is to help people shift their beliefs, it's not going to land. And if it doesn't land, they're not going to view it. If they're not going to watch it, they're not going to engage. If they're not going to engage, then it's not going to push it out to people that aren't already following me, so it goes viral and more people see it. It's also going to turn those followers into ghosted followers. So it's pretty useless. Then we have the middle of funnel content. The middle of funnel content is what I want to talk about today in the 4 different styles, which is the belief shifting content. The content that changes people's beliefs, their perspective, that educates, that inspires, that teaches, that shares your big ideas of why you're different. And then lastly, we have bottom of funnel content, which is your offers. This is your CTAs, call to actions. This is where you give away free stuff like lead magnets. This is where you ask people to do something, either comment or DM you, so that they can get closer to becoming a client. So now we've covered that, I want to just break down the 4 content styles that you can start creating and you can start putting into action from today, so that you actually create content that sells, content that makes conversions, content that actually makes you money, rather than just chasing views, which doesn't necessarily mean money in the bank. So number 1 is, instead of just creating content that solves people's problems, we've always told to solve people's problems. Here's 5 things you can do to lose weight. Here's 3 things to avoid if you want to, close more deals on a sales call. Like, that content's cool, but it's boring. And also with that content as well, Like, if I can say that content and you can say that content and we chop our heads off and swap it over onto each other's bodies and it still makes sense to put it out there, it's dog shit. It really is. Because it's not differentiating yourself from your competition. You're just shouting across social media for attention with everyone else instead of subtly whispering in your prospects' ears. And how you do that is, instead of talking to people's problems, you start talking about their symptoms. The symptoms of lacking motivation, the symptom of not being on the right diet, the symptom of not booking enough sales calls. Like what we're talking about today. If you're not able to turn your content into your viral content into leads and sales, then what's going to happen? You're going to experience burnout, overwhelm, analysis paralysis. You're going to compare yourself to others. You're going to get imposter syndrome, and you're just going to burn out, and you're just going to keep starting and experience feast and famine in your business. So I've just explained maybe 5 to 7 layers deep of the symptoms of not being able to get your content to turn into sales. So I can create separate 60-second reels about this. And that's really going to hit people in the feels. It's going to make them feel heard and understood. I think this guy gets me. It's also going to be different to what most people do. And it's going to make me stand out in a crowded market. And don't get me wrong, it's not going to get tons of views. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But what it will do is it will shift the belief. It will shift the perspective. It will make people feel seen and heard. Then the second style is, instead of talking about people's big dreams and aspirations, like, you know, you want to be 10% body fat, or you want to be making $100,000 a month, or whatever it is, start speaking to your prospects, your audiences, next milestone, their current priority of what they want to achieve right now. Because that's going to meet them at their current level of pain and discomfort and give them a solution to just move them one step closer to achieving their dream outcome. And if you can convey that well enough, and you can spark that desire and interest, then guess what that's going to do? It's going to get them to reach out and engage. And once they lose their interaction cherry with you, their first comment, their first like, they're going to see you someone as an authority. You're going to give your audience clarity. You're going to give your audience certainty. And if you can give them clarity and certainty and then build trust with them, those 3 things compound and they turn strangers into paying clients at will. This is how, and by the way, this isn't a flex, this isn't to impress you, it's to press upon you. This is how I've managed to turn a collective following of about 8,000 to 10,000 people. This is across all my social media platforms, so not on one, across all of them. I've never had more than 10k followers. But over the last 6 years, I've managed to create 3 online businesses in coaching to 6 figures. So I'm not saying this to impress you, but just to say that when you create this style of content, this is what connects with people. So then the third style of content is, instead of just speaking about value, because you've probably heard this before, you know, value is created when pain is alleviated, and value content is very similar to talking to people's problems, but everyone is giving value here, value there, You know, I'm trying to give you guys some value now, but what I'm doing instead, for the majority of this video, and what I do with my content on my Instagram, my TikTok, is, instead of just sharing value, the most of the time, I share my big ideas. I share why I'm different. I share how I'm zigging, my clients are zigging, while everyone else is zagging. And this is kind of like the premise of what we're doing today, right? I'm talking to your symptoms instead of your problems. I may be sharing a big idea or a milestone, which will be like for you to get your first person to engage or reply to that 2-step that you put out there and ask for that free thing or DM you the word. And then lastly, I'm sharing my big ideas with you, which is, instead of just talking about value, let's talk about why you're different. What makes you different as a coach? What makes you different as a business owner? Why does your product stand out from the rest? Why should they choose you? And if you start sharing your big ideas, you start shifting people's beliefs, because you can't force people to change their behaviours, like their behaviour to buy or reach out. You can't force that at all. It's like, I can't force you to like this. I can't force you to subscribe. I can't force you to comment. But if I shift a belief inside of you over a period of time, by constantly talking to your symptoms, talking to you how you can reach your next milestone, speaking to your current priorities, how I can share my big ideas as to why it's different to work with me, or different with my method or how I do things to the rest of the market, then that in return will shift your belief. And if I shift your beliefs around what you feel is possible or not, or what options you feel like you have now that you didn't have before, or shift the belief in like, well, maybe I need to try something different, then guess what? That shifts your behavior. Your behavior to like, to comment, to subscribe, to reach out. And if you follow this process, you can install this into your business straight away. You'll get more people reaching out to you, more people engaging with your content, more people taking up with your offers without having to have a large following, getting tons of views, going viral every single time. Because once you do that enough, you give your audience clarity. You give them clarity about who you are and what you do and how you do it, which leads into certainty. The certainty comes from them of like, well, I understand clearly about this person's methods, why they're different, who they help, how they do it, which is going to lead us into the fourth one. And then they get that certainty that maybe this could work for me. And then when they have that certainty, and then you layer in number 4 style of content, which is proof. And this is where you either showcase or tell stories about your own personal transformations or your clients' transformations, and so proof that you can do what you said you would and take people from 0 to hero. Then that compounds clarity, certainty, and trust. And that's how you can turn more strangers and more of your current followers into paying clients.